Good evening from the UK and welcome to Open Mind Special. I have a very special guest this evening, Ariane, and I was going to read out the extensive long bio, but I'd be here all night. So Ariane is going to read it herself. She's going to tell you her spiritual journey and how she got through it and all the beautiful things that happened. So, however, if the written form is on the advert, it's on the Open Mind pages. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, it's also on there. And all her links are there as well. We will, at the end of the show, ask Ariane to sell herself shamelessly. So if you need to follow her or get in contact with her or find out any more about what she's going to share with us, you'll be able to do so. And on that note, welcome to Open Minds, Ariane. Thank you for coming on.
Well, Gloria, thank you so much for having me on.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. So here we go. We're going to have a conversation, and I'm dying to know. I watched you on another show, and as you were talking, I mean, your energy was just so beautiful. I loved it. It was absolutely beautiful, and that's how I connect. And you shared only a few of the aspects of your journey, because obviously the topic was on other things, specific things. However, I would love for you to share with the audience here, where did your spiritual journey begin? What was the catalyst, if you can recall?
Yes, so I grew up in Belgium, in a small town, and I'm back there actually, living there for a few years now. The countryside is a little bit quieter than big cities, and I find them easier to navigate. And then I went to, primary school and secondary school, and I find that, now reflecting back, I find that these were quite years of torture. Yes. In some ways, with yes. a lot of gray overlay over the top, and yes. The school system, especially the mainstream one, is pretty hard, I think, on our development, and our influences us. And yeah. And then I went to study abroad, but I had I was starting to have a struggle with mental health. I think we all have, with like maybe also self-image, self-esteem.
Absolutely, same as you. Struggled with school, didn't fit in school. The system was, I shouldn't be here. Why am I here? And obviously mental health kicked in as well. Yeah, it seems quite common with a lot of the guests. It's a common phenomenon. Yes, yeah.
Yes, and I mean, I notice there is usually heavy programming sent our way. We generally have some kind of suicide programming. Yeah. For me, it was activated when I was about 16 years old, and it was all in relationship with a romantical relationship that, in fact, kind of was engineered in my dream time. That's how it got started, like the bondship. And then it took me actually quite a while to really open my eyes to what was going on at that time, and discover that that person was, in case, the classic type of an overt narcissist.
Yeah. I've experienced them too, and yes, it's not a proud thing to say. I was a teenager. I really can't recall, between 13 and 16, and I attempted suicide to get out of this matrix. I can't be here. I mean, I look back now and I see it from a different perception, but I absolutely resonate. And narcissism was a top notch back in the day. So I'm older than you by many years. So obviously, and I can see the program is still in play. It's still in play up to this day, actually. But yes, do go on. We're not going to digress. We're going to go on. And then after that, what comes next? When did this? Obviously, I totally resonate with the backdrop of what you've been through. What was the catalyst for you to open your eyes and think, there's something different, or there's something more I need to do? I mean, mine was after, I have to say, I think after I attempted suicide, I had this longing for life for some unknown reason, even because my situation hadn't changed. When did it touch you?
So after these years, I was quiet for 6 years, maybe from 20 to 26. I was doing my research, I was already looking into some kind of alternative information, but I was also not like diving into experience. So I was really protecting my space.
Yes.
And it's only when I was 26 that I went traveling, and there I really encountered a lot of different profiles in my travel, and it kind of triggered a lot of different things. Actually for a few years it was like a tornado, because of all these triggers that were kind of dormant, but by meeting specific individuals, experiencing certain things, it really influenced me a lot. And it also started a lot of painful suffering linked to relationship, especially romantical one, and also these kind of love bite scenarios that we hear about, that they are engineered relationship.
I'm with you. I mean, again, it's a very common phenomena that goes through. I found, I mean, everyone perceives it differently, but for me, as I kept hitting the next narcissist and the next, having parents that were narcissists, it kept coming back to me, and the buttons were being pressed because I needed to heal from what was perceived as this energy trauma. So the energy had come in. So, and it does take a while. I mean, I always say on my shows, people say I had the dark night of the soul. I had decades of the dark night of the soul. It goes on, and you don't get one night. It's like, And then I started to recognize, why is it coming back? Why is it coming back? Why is my button? So that seems to be a collective experience as well between us all. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, very much. And I noticed that the profile would change a little bit. They would become more sophisticated. I had like what we call like backdrop narcissists. They were my first handlers, or like at the end of my 20s, and then I had more spirited ones. It kind of transformed as I was evolving. It got it got more sophisticated in the traps and in the mind game, and also more psychic beings,
and which you overcome. It is a process. I mean, I used to be one part of my job role, my career. In one section, I was a counselor, facilitator for domestic violence, and then when the women would talk about the partners, it was a repetitive again, trigger, attract, but they kept saying this one is not as bad as that one, and then the next one wasn't. And honest, that's how it goes. It's like we're doing the work on this energy work, whether consciously aware or not. And the next one is you've still got, and it is narcissism, you've still got it, but it's not as bad as the next one. So it's like a process that everyone seems to have to go through. When I not say everyone, there are certain beings on earth that have gone through this process. So yeah, and I can totally understand that. So do go on.
Right. I see it still now, different form of narcissism present in friendships, and, I kind of want to see also the good in people and the potential, but this environment we are with in just abuse any weakness. So it's making it hard to kind of navigate all these mind games, and how hidden handlers also can take advantage of them to kind of plug to our core wound. And in the end, it's an harvesting, right? Because we give our energy to certain groups by associating with certain beings.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, work on the experience of working to self-realization, it was, I tried every religion, I tried everything you could think of, I studied everything you could think of, I researched everything you could think of, and I'm not the only being that's done it. This is another phenomenon that's very, very common. but for me, that at a point I was getting through, then I realized I could disconnect them because I became aware. I was aware of what was happening, and it really couldn't harm me. It was just my perception of it. So there does come a point when you go, and many spiritual beings, well, all spiritual beings, but the ones that are on, they're aware they're on their path, their consciousness expanding, they will all talk about this one and then that one and this happened. And when, like, this is why I have the shows for different information to inspire. When you hear that many others have gone through the same as you, it depersonalizes it. Do you agree? And helps you then shift that energy, or recognize the trigger. You know, like you said earlier on about self-image. I mean, you're stupid. That was a button for me as a child. And then when, you know, later on in life, if someone said I was stupid, that button was pressed. It took a while, and then I realized, that's what I need to work on now. Does that resonate with you as this journey goes along? This is a positive journey, by the way. We're showing you it's what happens to some, not all, on a spiritual journey. And we're going to see at the end how Ariane has overcome these things and where she is today. So please do go on, sweetie. Please do go on.
Right, I agree with you. Like we can train ourselves to recognize the patterns, right? Especially in how we feel. Yeah. It's always gonna tell us the real quality of the interaction, right? And I also agree that, like, most of our suffering is an illusion, and if we break out of mind control, believing the twist and the distortion, then we are free from guilt, pain, shame.
Yeah, absolutely. Do go on.
So about that, I would say that these types of really complex relationships have been really what invited me to really dive deeper, because of the suffering that I was experiencing at that moment. And you know, it's around also the end of the 20s. Everybody's got their Saturn return, and it can be a little bit bumpy road. Everybody's got kind of an intense story around that time, 28, 30. And I was engaged in at least 2 different complex relationships, one year after the other. I mean, the degree of strangeness also increased when I was traveling with different locations. For example, you know, you have Thailand and Bali, and I also went to California, and the degree of strangeness was higher than, for example, when I live here in Belgium.
Yeah. When you say, can you expand upon that? The degree of strangeness. Are you referring to, like, the energies there, or what expand upon that? What are you referring to?
Well, I find it extremely hard to navigate in Bali, for example, and also in Thailand. It was not the same energy, but kind of difficult also to navigate. In Bali, all these Balinese make a lot of prayers. You know, I find it extremely hard to navigate psychically, because they interfere with your free will, with their kind of spelling. So it's a very spelled reality there, and I find it very hard to keep my track, to keep, you know, I every time I get kind of pulled apart by the will of someone.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you know, it's most, for my truth is that words, which are frequency and vibrations, okay? And you can be in a place or be with someone or in a place where the culture or just the community energy is it doesn't resonate with the energy that you're holding. And for me, that was where I said, well, I don't say it's interfering with me. I pick it up and I go, that doesn't resonate. I need to get out of here. Like I told you, a year and a half ago, I had to get out of a town because I just had to go. It was compulsion, and move to a very quiet place in a village. It's quiet. There's, you know, and that is another common phenomena, I think, as well. And the fact that so it just shows at this point when you were traveling to different countries, as I suppose we could use the labeling again, but as your consciousness expands or your vibration heightens, our what I call psychic sensitivities heighten as well. So we pick up more, and where we get more refined. So we go somewhere and we go, we know immediately. Normally in the past we would have got drawn into it and then got out of it, a bit like narcissist relationship. Would you find that with the energies where you think, and then sometimes you'd go somewhere? I've been to places where I haven't even got to the town and I went, oh no, don't cross. Do you understand where I'm coming from with that?
Yes, definitely. I'm more sensitive now that I've been quitting stimulant and so on.
Yeah.
Maybe at that time of my life, I wasn't trusting so much my inner guidance, or maybe even aware of how it works.
Yes.
So I might have missed a few.
Oh, we've all missed a few. It doesn't matter. It's part of our individual journey. We're all having a human experience, but we're all going to experience it totally different at different levels. There's no better or worse. I missed it so many times. When I was younger, I would say, right, the God or the universe says, Gloria, go right. And what did I do? I went left, around the houses, up the hills, and then, oh shit, I got to go right. And eventually got there. It's part of the experience. It's part of it. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know about you, but I've looking back, I felt that there was like engineering, orchestration kind of leading me to like synchronicities, but synchronicities from the matrix. This is arrangement from some factions.
I recognize that in hindsight, looking back as I went along, I go, and then you go, So in hindsight, I mean, now I totally know it now, what went on. It was part of the program. It was part of the matrix, or call it the matrix. I have no issue with that. But it come in like light bulb moments going along, and at the right time, at the right place, like, boom. Now I get it. I mean, but yes, I understand totally what you're saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at that time in my life, also my mother was struggling with her mental health. She had a psychological decompensation, and when I went back from my first travel, she wasn't herself really, and she never came back because she was medicated. And then the psychological institutes, how they have like a dark grip over the mental health of people. So that didn't really go well, and I kind of it was really tragic for me, because me and my mother, we had like such a strong and beautiful connection, and she was one of the pillar of my life really, and she was kind of losing grip and spiraling down. So I made the choice to survive her departure, because she also succumbed suicide programming. She also had to live with a lot of suffering in the physical body, like she would have loved that, the way, like the way of detoxification, because I think it does a lot for our mental health too, to not live in an acidic body. So that was really complex at that time. That and an abusive relationship, I think, was the moment where I really chose to kind of take back a little bit of power in my life and close some door that I really needed to close. But it was extremely painful and hard to make that decision, but extremely necessary.
I think it's, again, many mirror exactly what you say. We've all got in. There comes at one point, there's a situation, or sometimes a few, but normally there's one major ones where you have to make a different choice. You get to the point, you have a knowing, and you don't know it all, but you have to make a choice, and it's a hard choice. And normally it's at when you think it's the most disastrous thing ever that's happened, and you just think, look, there is another way. There is another way. I mean, you know, for me, it was obviously attempting as a child to commit suicide. Afterwards, I didn't know why. I was grateful to be alive. But I had to go through that experience. I had to go through that darkness of energy to experience it, to recognize something else, a value, because I'd had no value for life. So I didn't value life as a child. However, it was like, for me, it was that just ignited something. Well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die, because I still wasn't out of danger at the time. Not from me, but from the caregivers. However, I was quite at ease with that. I just wanted something about, I'm meant to be here. So I agree with you. You know, at the time, when I look back now, I see it from coming from the way I do. I see it as it was an experience. However, at the time you're going through it, you really believe, because of the programming and the belief systems, the concepts, and blah blah blah, you believe it is real when it is not. And that is very, I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's the only way I can articulate this. Yes, it's a real experience, but you're not the observer of it. You play the role as the identity going through it. And as now I'm the observer of it. So if someone, I don't know, shot me, I would be the observer of being shot, so to speak. I'm trying to find a way to articulate. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, exactly. That's like these mind games, and that's why I was also using that term illusory, because when you look back to your past a few years later, you realize that, you know, it was all in your hands. Like you know, it's a decision when you break free from mind control that lead you to certain types of relationship. And everyone who is in the project has this self-destruction programming, sabotage programming. And I mean, how many people have been like cutting, you know, their wrist or but sabotage can take other forms. And even when you overcome the big layers of the urge, you know, to self-destruct, you know, alcohol is another form of sabotaging and self-destruction. But food as well can be.
I mean, I never did drugs. Not in my experience, but I turned to alcohol as a child. I don't very rarely drink at all, but at the time I did turn to alcohol. I know many of my guests have come on and it was drugs to escape, trying to find that escape. But that's part, again, of the experience, that you work through that, because drugs and alcohol are, I perceive it as the flip side of one coin, because I mean, I never did drugs, but there's some that have done the hallucinogenics. They got access to a realm that they wouldn't have got access, and they needed to on their journey. And they don't stay on the drugs, but something goes. And when they come off, they've shifted from that way, as another person may shift from a trauma. Does that make sense? When you drink alcohol, you don't shift anywhere. You just get a hangover the next day. It doesn't really work that way. We've all been there, done it. But it's you. But I think this self-destruct is a common phenomena, again, with all my guests. So, you know, do go on.
Yes, I feel it's very based with the inversion here. You know, it's a kind of self-hatred, and then we have to kind of work hard to take better care of ourselves, and to fight the constant inversion, you know. And I was also initiated to drugs and psychedelics, and by one of my romantical relationship, because without that blind trust, I'm not sure I would have explored that. But then I felt the dark. I felt a kind of dark handler, invisible, but kind of having that smile that I was taking that road, and I felt that presence. So, you know, it's a choice then what we do with our body and how we destruct it. But I've seen also the result of this escapism in my life with my health that was degrading. So, you know, I was aging much faster, and it felt like a process that was getting out of control, and that was making me feel powerless without power. So at some point I also switched that and made a decision to kind of reclaim and learn, and that knowledge also helped a lot to not be in disempowerment.
It does, and I mean, you know, for me, it's a process of it. It's because what we do, we go external, and then what happens we then start going within, internal, and for me, you know, there are breakthrough through moments, and when I was facilitating the domestic violence groups, and they'd come with a belief, and it was amazing. It was like a reflection for me. And I'm saying, that's not your belief, that's your partner's belief. And you've taken on your partner's belief. And that's not true. What do you believe? And as I was, many years I was doing that, it was just like me looking in the mirror, talking to myself, which was, as I was helping another, it was really working on me at the same time. So, and then I come to realize, people say, well, how do you make these choices? Well, you make these choices by saying, it's not them, it's me. You know, if I've got someone, you know, if you, Ariane, says to me, I hate you, you fucking bitch, and blah, 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 and it may not be very nice, and I may feel an energy come up, and I'll go, well, your opinion, now I would go, your opinion of me is none of my business, bye. And I won't even be phased with you now. But back in the day, if someone had said that, ooh, and I would have gone back into the loop. And all different belief systems, no matter what they are, it's like a loop. It's a loop until you say, okay, why am I reacting that way? It's not them. They've come to be my mirror, to press my buttons for a reason. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yes, that's also was my realization, you know, that it was really with me. No matter where I would go, I would attract, you know, hunter, abuser, people who were after the energy, and what they could get out of. So it was a way, I think we all have to learn to be much firmer with our boundaries. It's sad, but we sometimes also have to learn to be strict.
I think to me, it's like law of attraction. What you put out, you're going to get back. And that's why after each relationship, it could be a physical relationship, it could be a work relationship, it could be anything, you know, because some people go into job after job and they work with the most obnoxious, narcissistic people ever. And it will keep going until you recognize what's happening, and that you have to go within to say, well, it's my reaction to it. What if I don't react? Then what? And trust me, when you start going down that road, miracles happen. We call them miracles. That your whole reality, then you start to shift, and you attract similar, but not as bad as, until eventually you make that break. But it's not just narcissistic relationship. It's every belief system that you've been told is true. You then realize that's just a load of bollocks. It's still true. We're all doing, every human being, every Homo sapien is experiencing this, but differently. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, and I've noticed that there is a certain addiction to negativity and to drama that needs to be overcome, because it's very linked to our dopamine circuit. So we kind of feel alive and then empty when we're not sometimes in this.
It's a drug. It is absolutely. It is a drug, because if I look back in the day, God, and when I used to get all read up and, you know, and it's not fair, you shouldn't do this and all that, when I was winning my Oscar. It was feeding my energy. It was feeding my energy, and you know, it's a realization of that. I don't like this feeling no more. So yes, it's an addiction. People think, you know, some people have food addictions. I don't. I don't have drug addictions. I think mine was more emotional addictions more than anything, because of the childhood I came out of. So yeah. You are what you've been told you are, and you experience what you've been told is to experience. So it's the programming of it. But my God, when you start to break out, the freedom that comes is like, oh, why did you're not supposed to do it before? It's at the right time, at the right place. And then none of it matters ever again. It's just, I've got to keep coming in. This is a positive conversation. We're showing you how you can come through something and come out the other side, and how Ariane's done this and how her journey went. The audience know that I always use this analogy. Me and you are having a human experience similar. It's the same, but we're not going to have it the same. It's like if I get an orange, cut it in half, give you half an orange, I've got half an orange. We are both experiencing eating the orange. However, we are not going to experience it the same. We are so not going to, it's going to be totally different. I cannot resonate with your experience because I'm not experiencing it, and you can't with mine. We can resonate with the energy and the structure and, you know, the social determinants around it, but it's your truth and it's my truth. And that's the beauty of the journey, is that, and we share this. So I love it. I love it. Do go on. Do go on.
Yeah, I also noticed that these experiences are great to kind of identify, you know, deep wounding that often is based on negative programming and is also illusory, but it's good to know it's there and how it can be manipulated, and then we can work on that, you know, do some work.
I agree. I mean, this, you know, we call it the negative programming. Some people call it the dark side, and some people call it, it doesn't matter what you call it. But the fact is that, for my truth, that is there to push the individual conscious person to do exactly what you've done or I've done and billions of others have done. If it wasn't there, we wouldn't be where we are today. So when we call, you say negative programming, I wouldn't say negative, I say it's part of consciousness. That's the illusionary negative, but it pushes us. If it wasn't there, we wouldn't. We'd be all going around like light beings and it'd be boring, wouldn't it? We've come here to have a human experience, and this is now what's happening in the now is we're all talking about our human experience and how we got through it. And that's the most amazing part of this journey, is on podcasts and shows, we're all talking to each other. Oh, my journey was like this. Wow, and I've got over that way. This is a first for humanity. This is a first for us to do what we're doing today, is to talk about now our human experience and how we come through what we came through. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. And when you were talking, I actually remember that in one of these painful relationships, they are really engineered to get the worst out of us. So to put us in very triggered state. I didn't know at the time that I have dissociation. I have different alters living in me. And it's only later that I realized that the pain was so terrible sometimes that it would make me switch into this alter state. So it means I was out of control, and this is not good to kind of work on reintegration. So it's been very interesting to kind of trace back what was really happening, and it's really influencing to give your energy away, you know, and to be in these suffering states. You're all harvested, and it's no good, right?
No, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, but moving on from that, there's a segue to move on from that. When you come to this realization and all this process you were working through, where did you shift to then? What comes next after you come out the other side? What happens next?
So when I decided to close the door, I worked on my healing, but of course it wasn't that simple, right? Because the healing scene is full of imposters and very controlling energy, also ready to harvest you, right? So I joined some circle called Santo Daime. They are, you know, you drink the beverage of ayahuasca, but it's a Portuguese tradition where you sing Portuguese Christian songs, and there are lots of groups around the world in every country. So I worked with different groups, but opening my consciousness in the middle of room with very, very different energies, and many were not so welcoming or well-intentioned, you know. So it was all a learning curve. I also consulted a lot of different psychological modalities and therapy modalities, but there was not much good, I would say. There was a lot of attempts to influence, to kind of put me back into my programming. So it was interesting. There was all this scene, you know, they are gurus. So the plant medicine and all of that, I worked a little bit with that. I also worked with Cambo at some point, you know, the frog venom, where you burn your skin and kind of apply the venom, and then it goes straight to your organism actually quite quickly. So these were like kind of very forceful purge, but they also have their problem with the astral realm, or how you can be violated due to the agreements you give while taking place in this ceremony. So it was all interesting. I learned a lot of things like that with these environments.
I've heard, I never, my experience never went near any of that. I've heard of other people though. I went through religions. That was my experience. So, you know, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity. I've heard of others that have gone to these groups. I was always wary of what love and light groups. I was always wary from the get-go. So they never resonated. And you know, I'd hear them talk, and I thought, if you're going to, I could feel the control. You have to do it this way, or there's no way you're going to make it. And I'm going, no, that's not true. We're individual. It's out. So I never experienced any of that. My experience, which was kinda, was I went through the religions and experiencing, you know, the control of the dogmas and coming out, and then going to the next one. And I even thought, Buddhism's got to be safe. Zen Buddhism, it's got to be safe. And I went in there, and they were still, you must do this, you must do that, you must chant this, and I go, no, I'm not doing any of that, because by then I could not, the being would not allow control, and it was going, go in. And so I didn't go down that path as you went down. And that's, you know, how it should be. It's how it should be. It's your experience. So when you, through these gurus and these ceremonies, at what point did you break away from them?
Right. Every time I was going somewhere, you know, I knew there was something wrong at the time when it was happening. I could feel it. It would sometimes take me maybe a few days, a week before really standing up for myself and maybe leaving the groups, because, you know, there was not many openings. But I know that every time you refuse something, new paths open, really. And with the Santo Daime, it was mixing Christianity. So there was in the songs themselves, there was like guilt programming, shame programming, right? And all that philosophy. And many people were actually deceived by thinking they were doing good, while actually they were abusing you. They didn't know, really. They were also under pretty severe mind control.
No, I mean, it's like, you know, I'm a medium, so, you know, my life I've gone to certain medium churches and things and groups, and it has a backdrop of Christianity, and I just couldn't fit in. So I would come out and just go and do it in my house and bring the mediums with me, because you recognize control. You know, and that's the whole point. It's like it's like you're taking a drink and trying it. No, I don't like that one. No, it's not that one. No, it's a process, is it not? It's a process that you go through. I'll try this one. No, I'll try that one. And that is another common phenomena. What I hear on my show and with the people that I speak to, Yeah, it's another one. It's just slightly different for you, the way that you went, that I went. There may be others that went your way through the cults and the groups, and I just steered totally away. It was like, no, back. I would, you know, I don't know if it's because I'm a medium, I have no idea. And I'd hear someone talk, and as soon as I'd go on vibration, as soon as I hear them talk, I'm going to knock that one and go to the next one. And so, but through all what we perceive the illusionary trauma, as I said, the innate psychic abilities, the intuition, every single thing heightens to an extent. You get better and better, and you actually recognize it quicker. And I think that's, as that excels, you still attract him, but you recognize. And then for me, it was like, boom, no, that I don't even attract that type of group anymore. I haven't done for a long time. It doesn't even come near me, because I say, why is that here? What haven't I got? Why are these people trying to talk to me? And I'm laughing. I'm like, nah, and let it go. Just let it go. Just like saying bye to that experience. It's bye. When you got out of these groups, what was the next stage to where you are today and what you're actually doing today?
So, I mean, it's progressive, because you can, I always can find traces of mind control and engineering in my life up to this day, but I've worked a lot on what you are talking about, which is like releasing the external authority programming and kind of working more from your core, from yourself, right? Yeah. Not looking for the answers outside. I wasn't aware at that time that it was so infested. If I knew, then you know, in the end, what we have been invited to be more at home, maybe, and in a sense, that's a blessing, because you can do a lot. You can transform your life a lot from, if you're not constantly going.
No, I'm with, I mean, as I said, I come from, my truth is from self-realization, non-duality. And I can look at my journey and say, I came in and took the mask, and I come in to find the true me, of which I found. Now, I was the one looking, but I went through that. I came in, say, asleep, to experience, to find my true self, not the beliefs of the programming, of the controllers, of the schools, of the, I had to go through that. We all individually take on all this culture beliefs. It could be wherever you're born in the world, it's going to be different, obviously. And the whole, for me, my truth is the whole point of the experience was to find me. And that comes with self-realization. That would not have happened if I hadn't gone through all the shit that I went through at the time. It was like, Oscar time. Trust me, when you come out the other end, or you just, it's an ongoing experience. However, there is a point that comes of self-realization. You can't go back. What happens is, for me, I recognize immediately. Something says something. Yeah, I don't have a TV or anything like that, but if something says something, I'm like, oh, and I'm not even phased. It doesn't even connect to me. That's what I said to you earlier on. That's on another timeline. I'm on this timeline, and that's not in my timeline. I spent many years, one foot in each timeline, and it was the most disorientating experience ever. So when you come out of that, and that the freeing, even though you're aware there's still going on, we're all aware it's still out there, and we have a choice. You want to reconnect, go and reconnect. No, I don't want to reconnect. I can't go back now, it's too late. What did you do with this freedom, with this knowing, when you started to see, we'll call it the matrix, because that's what you call it, I have no issue with that. What did you do when you went, shit, this, oh my God. What then did you do to continue your journey up to today?
Right, it's progressive, and for me it was also linked to my health. My body was really acidic. I had health issues, and my gums were receding. So I really asked for answers, and I found the mucus-free detox method and way of eating, and the mucus-lean also, and so I started to do that, and that's also when a lot of things have shifted for me, when my body was not in constant acidity. So I learned a lot about cellular detoxification for a few years. And in my 20s, I also was learning about humanist psychology and Bach flower and reflexology at the time. And I already wanted to be a therapist at that time, but I was lacking experience, and I was also unprepared to kind of be armed for the different range of clients that the system also gonna send you. So I kind of dive deeper into all this knowledge, like I've always been interested in learning more, and also practice a lot with my own healing. And so the result of this method, that we're reversing things or getting good result, getting things out also of the body, waste getting out. So we feel lighter. It's very crucial, I think, and also linked to the spiritual world.
Yeah, I mean, coming from, without sounding repetitive, self-realization, I use many analogies, but one of my analogies, when you talk about what in your experience that you're going through this detox, and that's your experience, that's your truth, and you found a way that works for you. I use that, and I understand it as, I call it the spiritualization of matter. The body is physical matter in the illusion or matrix, and it's got these energies from the experiences inside, and it causes dis-ease, aches, pains, diseases, blah, 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 blah. And every individual being has a different way and process on working on them energies. There are many do as you do. It's by dietary and certain things like that. Others do it other ways. And I find it, it's wonderful, the diversity, the options that are out there for people if they wish to, if it resonates with them. I mean, detoxing your ways wasn't my way. I had my other way of doing it. But that's the beauty of this, that there's multiple ways to do this. And one glove does not fit all. But the glove that Ariane's talking about today, you may be interested in, and it might be something that would interest you. So you do find, I mean, I found by the way I worked on myself, and it wasn't through food at all, it was other ways, that each time, and you see there's health coming, the health is like, and you realize what actually it was that if you believe you have a disease, you have it, basically. That's what it is. You have it. Simple as that. It's whatever you put your attention on, quantum physics 101, you'll attract it back. However, that doesn't stop, the bit of suffering you have in the body and the aches and pains. And that is the process that we work on in shifting that. It's just energy. It's like, if you're in a room and me and you are in a room or having a party, and a negative Nelly walks in, some really low negative, we're all going to feel that energy of that person coming in. If we stay in that person's company, we allow them, we stay and they don't want to go, it's going to seep in and connect to our energy, because we're always one. We're all connected one. So we have choices. I'll say, Ariane, he's got to go. If he doesn't go, I'm going. Bye, and I'm out of there. So it's about shifting and releasing any energy. They're not the actual experience, it's just vibration that is connected within. And when you shift that, you can bring in, you can expand. The vessel's open to bring in source energy or expanded energy. Does that resonate with you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
It's a process that's going to go on and go on and go on. So with all this experience that you've done and the things that you've learned, what do you do with this now to help other people? What do you do?
So yeah, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I started to work on my website. You know, I started with writing articles first, and then going deeper about the mind control. And you know, every time I was deprogramming from an event, I was also kind of taking a few months to understand the dynamics and to research also sometimes, and then to also share it with others so they can also you know, sometimes we need to read the words, someone who has put things into words to kind of reclaim parts of our experience too. It helps also to read some definition like gaslighting. Oh, it makes sense. I understand what it is about, right? And we all have experienced it, so it's great that there is a term for that. So I worked on article, then I started to create videos and also audio podcasts, and I also opened my practice as a psychic intuitive, and I'm also a cellular detoxification coach. Now I all group, you know, process, and we have just been closing the second group. We have been doing a challenge also of eating off food liquids, and also training in reading energy signatures. So with my experience, I also been training a lot, and so I can teach it now, you know, where to look, what to look, like tuning into the signature of, because we are so many different beings, and there are so many different templates and things to understand, and every case is really unique. So and also the last year I also started to work with the biofeedback technology from my friend Kimberly McGeorge from Secret to Everything, and I've been working with biofeedback technology as a consultant in the past, and I really like them, but that one really goes beyond the ones I've been experiencing before, and you can actually also keep on programming your own panel, and it's based on frequency. So it's a frequency technology, a little bit like homeopathy is, and that's how it works. So I really been fascinated with that, and it's been a huge tool, complementary tool into how I work with my clients, and you know, I do one-on-one as well, and I keep on writing and, you know, feedbacking everything that is happening. And the last years also have been interesting, you know, with what we have been experiencing collectively.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Well, now anyone watching this, the links are up, and when this, you'll see the links also with the video. When this goes up, it's already in the advertisement. So any of this resonates with you, go and check out Ariane's website. If anything resonates, go for it. If it doesn't, just put it from one side. You've got nothing to lose. Just go and take a peep. As I said, not one glove fits all. Some people do meditation. I'm not a meditator. I've never been a meditator. Never, ever, 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 ever. And I remember years ago from the Zen, you have to meditate or you won't awaken. I said, well, I can't. It wasn't for me. It didn't stop self-realization. This is what I'm trying to say. You know, every individual being has their own path, but you need to go out there and research. Does this suit me? Does that suit me? Go to Ariane's site. You might find something on there. You may have tried everything in the world and it hasn't worked, and you're like this, I can't do it. I remember being that person. And you may go to Ariane's site and say, oh, I like that. That will resonate. Then go for it. Connect with Ariane, and who knows what could happen. As you know, this show is to not only hear the experiences, spiritual journeys of the guests, but to give information to anyone to try and help them on the path of, we call it awakening or self-realization, whatever you choose. You have been a lovely, gentle energy guest. Okay, you're I'm now, you know, I can feel it. It's a very gentle energy that you have, and it's beautiful. And your energy, what you've experienced to find out who you are, it's one of the most powerful I've encountered. I know the energy. I can't name this type of energy because there's no words. You know, I come from a background of let's just say not nice, the audience know. And I always, if I have a guest on that's gone through something and overcome it, guys, and overcome it, which means you can overcome it, those watching, then to me, it's the most softest, gentle energy ever, because people perceive this energy to be vulnerable. However, it is not. It is very, very powerful. And at some point, they say you kick a dog enough times, it bites back. Vroom, it awakens, but it's pushed and pushed. So you have a beautiful, gentle energy. And thank you for sharing your spiritual journey. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's just fantastic. And I'm hoping next year, because I'm booked on Inception, to bring you on to Inception podcast as well. It's a different type of audience. I'd love to have you back on the show.
Oh, that would be my pleasure. And I really enjoyed connecting with you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetie. Okay, guys, before I go, open minds. Please like and share. It's not about me. I say every time, it's about the guests that come on. They've come on freely to share information. Get it out there. Share this video wherever. We're on YouTube too. Please like and subscribe. It's all free, and get the message out from all of our guests to as far and wide. Humanity needs to hear these experiences now, and this is why the likes of myself and other podcast hosts are having these conversations now. So share it wherever you can share it. It doesn't matter. And thank you for listening to Open Minds. Until the next time, it's bye from me. Bye.
Bye-bye.